We want to be careful in looking only at happiness dimensions, because if I remember, I'm not sure whether I'm referring to the same study you were referring to, but happiness is also perceived in relational terms. I may be poor, but I'm a little bit better off than my neighbor. And that is not the concept that we want to promote. We want to promote a responsible, well, we want to look for happiness in terms of we are all well off. And that's what if we can get to a definition of equity, probably that's the closest at this point I think I can get.
That's an interesting point you raise about the possible trade-offs or contradictions and conflicts between our different values, one of which we hold so highly in this session, equity, but you know, there are many others. I want to actually come to Konrad. You obviously have a vast experience with a very different way of spreading programs, pilots, if you will, and that is through networking. Your organization is rather flat compared to the idea of scaling up. So I wonder if we can learn something from, you know, is it maybe not that we have to scale up, which inevitably leads us up against, you know, powers that have no interest in allowing us to be more equitable? Can we learn from the way you spread and connect communities across the globe in how to, you know, spread the news of equity?
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah, it starts.
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, I'm sometimes asking myself whether there is a value in looking at things from the global level, from the level of global institutions. I'm representing a global organization of local governments. So I'm sometimes thinking, how effective can we be when we think, oh yeah, there is a good example, and now if all our members would do this, and what can we do, and so on. It's a very centralist point of view. And of course, we all want to do good things, and we are all considering ourselves to be wanting the right thing. And if we're in a position that happens to be one in a central organization, World Bank, ICLEI, UN, whatever, we think we need to improve the world. And the question is whether we can actually do this, or whether we should not just help and foster what grows on the ground in terms of initiatives, and with holding back on having a too big central role there. When I look at equity issues in local communities, in cities, and I think global equity cannot be achieved without that there is equity at local level, within the local societies, because that's the primary reference point for everybody. And they don't notice so much what happens in another country, or whether their country is poorer than another one or so. They look basically at their community and what they see, what they experience day to day. Then there can be no local equity without gender equity. And I would even add without generational equity. Because what our current generation is doing is to live in the way we live just at the expense of future generations. I mean, that's the finance crisis has made us aware how we resolve things by just putting debt to the future generations. And we do, of course, so with natural resources, with nuclear waste and everything. And I think without gender equity also we don't get anywhere. When you look at what the causes of the main problems in the world are, they are very, very male. Very, very male, due to male attitude of this competition. You see boys already sort of fighting in physical fights. When they happen to be prime minister, they have armed forces that they can run against another country when there is a problem. There are not so many women that have caused wars. They are suffering from war and they clean up afterwards. And moreover, they don't only rebuild the society, also after disasters, by the way, but they also raise the generation so that there is a future society coming up. And I sometimes think the best program would be to just moderate the male influence on decisions in the world, whether it's in business, technology, science, I'm aggressive now here, and other, in governance, and let's say, the reasonable come through. And that is, I think, reasonable considerations, reasonable decisions are more likely to come from women than from men. Men like technology, they like competitiveness, they like to build institutions, they like to build toys. Everybody has this kind of cell phone toy there we drive in toy cars. It's just upscaled what we have done as little children, as little boys, and so we drive the world's economy and the world's societies, whether it's into technology directions or in conflict directions. So I'm deeply convinced that we need to create equity, or to foster equity by moderating the male element, letting the interests of the young generation and the future generations come through, and this can be best made by very strong influence and empowerment of women. Thank you.
You raise wonderful issues, and I want to ask one last question and then open it up for a dialogue with all of us here. What you just said, moderate the male influence, that's just such a nice phrase. I have a feeling the males of the world, generally speaking, are not just going to hand it right back over. Let's put it that way. And that would be true for powerful institutions, industries. The powerful have, gained their power by basically arranging institutions, economies, income flows, resource flows in their favor. And what we know, from psychology, any field basically, is they're not going to easily give that up. So the question for me is, give me an example of where we actually made progress, where the equality was reduced by, I don't know, by either the less empowered empowering them and taking it back, or by the powerful giving it back.
I don't know. Is it the possibility to get back to because I brought a scheme. Okay. So if it's possible, I don't know. Yeah. So we have to, sorry.
Maybe while you look for your place.
Yeah, I can't talk. Okay. I can talk.
Right there. Okay.
Oh my God, it's too, yeah, we have to do everything here around. Don't worry about. No, it's not functioning. Forget it. I can tell about. Okay. We had an enormous problem with the Guatemalan refugees coming in to Mexico. And from the border side, there were always 85 times an intervention of a small country into a bigger one without response. So the complexity was very, very complicated, and we had to find a way. So the decision making was a governmental one, top down, trying to manage the things. Yeah, this I wanted to have. So how to deal with? So the first step, because these 250,000 people were moved into the poorest region of Mexico. So how to deal? You have to take away land, resources, and you have to fight about very scarce resources. So the first process was a kind of identification process, both on a same cultural basis. Both we are from the Mayan background culture. So from the cultural basis, women started with orchards. Just both. And then they heard about the tremendous drama of a war, of destruction, of torture, of killing, of displacement. And from this process on, women came home and said, let us try to find a way how to deal with. So, coming back to the question you had first, if money is necessary or not, I think it's necessary. But not only money given by banks and from top down, but really very small, owned, saved money. The saving process brings you two big chances. And the saving process in this model was 1 pesos per day. 100 pesos to get into an organization. That's nothing. 100 pesos is about 5 or 6 euros, no? Mm-hmm. So it's nothing, it's about, yeah. Nice, so, yeah. But the point is, you bring your own money within. Mm-hmm. Then what was going on after the common cultural identity? The identification process of what could we do together? Fine. You like to cook, I like to cook. Let us do a public cooking system, no? Or you like to have a bakery, or you like to produce sandías, or you like to do mangoes, no? So fine, the people went in with their own capital.